So hello and welcome to my first YouTube video. I've never tried anything like this before, so I've no idea what it's going to turn out like. But as you can see, I've got lots of projects here to have a look at with you. And one of the reasons I thought I would do a video today is because normally I post on Instagram, or I do occasional updates via one of the Facebook groups that I belong to. But I've been so busy the last few months that although I've done a bit of stitching, I haven't actually updated anything for a long time. And I thought the quickest way that I could bring everyone up to date is to just do a quick video. So as you can see, there's a pile of projects here in front of me. These are just some of my whips, which is a bit embarrassing to say because I am a multiple whip person. I do have lots of projects on the go. And I did participate in Stitch Mania. So I also have lots of new starts, but most of these are quite small projects, and hopefully they will get finished. Well, maybe not this year, but at some point. So I'm going to start you off with just the one on the top, and this is just a little design by Annie Lane, and it's of a mallard. And I chose this one because my mum is really into ducks, and I know it's an odd thing to be into, but she loves them, and her downstairs toilet is decorated with lots of different ducks. So when I saw this one on sale and actually picked it up at a charity shop, I thought this would be a good one to do for my mum. And I think I did this on day 9 of Stitch Mania and really didn't get a huge amount done, as you can see. In fact, I think it goes that way around. I'm not even sure. So I think I got 2 colours on there, but it's quite a small design, this one, so it should stitch up quite quickly. And what I'll do is I'll probably just pop it in a frame and give it to her for Christmas, just as like a little stocking filler or something. So that's the first one. Quite a quick, small project. And that's on my list to get finished in the month of June, because it's a small project. This is ideal for me to work on during the week, because I don't get a lot of stitch time kind of Monday to Friday, as work doesn't really allow for it, and I also commute, and I have tried stitching on my commute a couple of times, but I really struggle to do that. It actually makes me feel a bit sick when I'm on the bus, so I don't tend to stitch when I travel. But during the week that would be quite a quick one to pick up and hopefully get finished. So the goal for this is the end of June. The next one is also a project I did for Stitch Mania, and this is called Christmas Bells, and it's a design by Judy Whitman. And it's a really pretty little design that I picked up at, I think the stitching, I think even the stitching is more appropriate, the Stitching and Knitting show, probably about a year ago. And it's very pretty. You can do it in 2 different sizes. Is it going to focus? So either if it's stitched over 2 or over 1. The recommended fabric for this was a 32 count Belfast linen white. But as you can see, I didn't use that. I actually used a very kind of sparkly Ada, because I have a huge kind of massive bit of fabric of this to use up. I bought this for a different project, and loads left over, so, and as it's Christmas I thought it'd be appropriate. And it's really, really pretty, and if you can see, if I zoom in, it's going to be in the shape of a bell, and you can see lots of little other things included in the design. So you've got a crown and a bee and a star and a bow. And funnily enough, I didn't actually realise that until I started stitching, although if you look back at the pattern it is quite clear to see. It's a bit blurry, isn't it? There's lots of things in there like birds and trees, etc. Even a little stocking. But I didn't actually realise that until I was stitching, and I started with this bow here at the top, and as I was stitching I thought, oh, it's a bow. So obviously a little bit slow off the mark. And so far I have stitched it in the recommended colours, not on the back here, which are the darker colour, which is a week's dye work, and this is Bordeaux. And then the lighter, it's kind of a very pinky red, is this Strawberry Fields, again a week's dye works. There are 2 greens on this pattern, kind of in the holly at the top and then the writing at the bottom. But I don't have either of those greens in my stash, so I think what I will probably do is just pick 2 greens out and fill that in. I don't think it's too important that it's not the variegated colourway in that. So that's another small one, and my goal for this one is again to get this finished next month, because again this should be quite simple to just stitch after work, kind of in the evening, just maybe. Really, sometimes I'm lucky if I get through one kind of strand in the evening, because I'm usually pretty tired. But again, this is something I've had in the stash for a couple of years, I think, at least 18 months. But I did this as part of the Stitch Mania and was one of my starts. Can't quite remember what one of the days, but it was probably early in the month because I got quite busy as the month went on. So I did even less and less, as you shall see. So, number 3 is Country Cottage Needleworks. I have quite a lot of the Country Cottage Needlework patterns. I'm a bit of a fan of all of these, and this one in particular is August. So I started these the year that they came out, and let me think, I think I completed January through to May, and then I stopped. Now I do have all of them, as you can see they're all peeking out under here, and the reason I stopped is when I got to June and July, both very pretty, but July, obviously this is an American design, so it's been designed clearly to celebrate the 4th of July, so we've got the red, white and blue, and then we've got the American flags, and we've got the fireworks going off. But as you might hear from my accent, I'm not American, I'm British, and therefore this doesn't have so much significance for me. I didn't really want to stitch it as it was, and I had a bit of a bright idea about what to do about it, so I knew what was coming as these were being released. I was in a sign up for a monthly club, oops, sorry, and so I knew that the July was going to look like this. So in my head I kind of thought what I would like to do is, could I switch June with July, and then that would mean that in June of that year, 2012, was when we had the Queen's Jubilee year, so it was a big celebration in the UK. And you know, I had some bunting around the house, and I went to a couple of events, and of course we had the Olympics that year, although not in June or July. But I thought that might be quite a nice way to commemorate the year. The thing is, I never quite got round to doing it, and this is where I stopped with the cottages of the month, because I can see it's easy enough to do the J and the U, because obviously the J and the U are the same for June and July, but I couldn't quite figure out how to get the tail of the Y to fit in where the E is. And that's something that I'm going to sit and have a think about, because I want to change that, and I do want to stitch it as I had planned. The other thing I need to do obviously is then I need to find some way of having this so that it's the Union Jack as well. So I don't know if anyone else has converted these, but I might do a quick little internet search to see if they have, because I suspect somebody else has. Otherwise I could always, I suppose, contact, sorry, that's the pattern, could contact, I want to say her name's Nikki, who is the designer, but I could contact the company just to say, have they got anything with this sketched out? So that's the kind of June and July, and I didn't do either of those, but I've got the fabric for them, I've got the speciality threads, etc. So they're kind of waiting in the wings as a project to do. I did do some work on August. Again, this was one of my Stitch Mania starts, and I didn't do too badly. This was I think the bank holiday weekend, so I think I did this either the Saturday, Sunday and Monday, so you can tell because I had a bit of extra time, and I actually managed to complete the border and start kind of along this bit at the bottom here. Very bare trees considering it's August, but they will be filled out at some point. So I managed to get a fair way on August, and you might laugh because you might think, well, that's not really a fair way, but this fabric's a bit big, So I also started the next month. So this teeny tiny little excuse of a border that you can see here is actually the start for the September cottage, which again is very pretty. So at some point this will be stitched. And my plan with all of these, I've seen lots of different ways that these have been put into fully finished object, but I've made a couple of them into little cushions, so this is what these are destined for at some point. So that's that one. And I'll move June and July. And then an even smaller start was with October, was this one. So actually I got more done than I did with September. So again, this was, I think this was on the Wednesday evening, and I was really knackered on the Wednesday, and I was merrily stitching on here, and I was thinking, oh, I'm going quite well. I'll at least get like the top border finished. So if I can get that in, I might even try and stitch November. I don't know why I'd want to stitch November, because it's October, but you know, needs must. Maybe that's just about this pattern, because actually as I was stitching and going great guns, I was working my way back along, and I looked back here and I thought, do you know what? That's not right. There's a stitch missing here. So having sewn all the way along here, coming all the way back to here, I then realised there's a mistake at the very beginning in this corner. So I'm going to have to just frog this out and add an extra stitch in. And as you can imagine, at this point, it was midweek. I was quite tired. I'd had enough. This got put away and I had a glass of wine instead. So that didn't really get much further, but that will happen. And there's space on this fabric. Oops. As you can see, it's a really big piece of fabric, so this will get the other cottages of the months remaining on it. As you can see, I've got November there, which is really quite pretty. I have actually got, it's better, December somewhere. I just need to find it. So moving on to something different, I've had this pattern in my stash again. I think I've had it for a couple of years, and it's just really pretty little butterflies. It's a very simple stitch, and this is the name of the designer. I'm not quite sure how you say that. Katuna. I'm probably completely butchering it, so I do apologise if that's not how you pronounce your name. Although I'm not sure if that's a name or if that's the name of the company, and I believe, I have a look, that's the name of the, yeah, I got it on Etsy, of the site where I bought it from, but there's also a blog spot that she has as well, and it's just really, really pretty. I think this appealed to me because it is very simple. It's got some lovely bright colours in it, and I actually really like the way that it's finished in the hoop. And that's what I thought I would want to do with my finished project as well. But I went a bit different. I didn't go with this, I presume this is a 14 count, yeah, white Ada. I went with this really bright piece of fabric that you can see in front of you. And it's absolutely gorgeous. This is a Jod Diary. I can never say that name. I apologise again. I'm going to butcher everybody's name, but I think everybody knows the designer because she does some beautiful stuff, and quite often we're seeing her threads and fabric appear in people's videos. But this is one of the fabrics of the month. I think it came out last year. It's called Salamander, and this is a cut of 28 count Opal Brittany. And I loved it as soon as I got it. Let me zoom out so you can see it in its entirety. It's absolutely beautiful. So you can see it's got these kind of pinks and it's got lemons in it, and it's kind of got a tinge of orange to it as well. And look, when I did the floss toss, I just thought these colours absolutely pop on this fabric as well. So I couldn't resist it. And as you can see, they've really not done a great deal of this, and again it was a Stitch Mania start. It'd been sat waiting to be done for quite a long time, and this Stitch Mania just pushed me to do it. And what I kind of plan to do is, I've got this pink, this lovely bright 602 is up here, and I've started this butterfly on the yellow bit, and then thinking that So that's that butterfly here. Then I would have this orangey colour, so that's this one, would then kind of come down into the pinky bit. And so it's trying to get the backgrounds matched. It's going to be a bit tight because the top of the fabric's here, but I laid my hoop down on it, and I should, hopefully, fingers crossed, just about fit that in. But I love this. I think this is beautiful. This is a really happy, cheery, pretty kind of project. Something just a bit different. And again, my plan is that this will be one that I'd like to get finished quite soon. I'd like to think it will be in June. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Now this one, don't adjust your cameras. My printer had a bit of a moment with this one, so as you can see it's all pixelated. And unfortunately, it also did the same to the pattern. So the pattern is really difficult to read, so I'm going to have to reprint this at some point. But this was sat in my stash again, probably for about a year. I absolutely loved it when I first saw it. It's the first thing that I've stitched by Cloud's Factory, and I absolutely love the Golden Girls. And I don't know how you can look at a picture of the Golden Girls without actually singing the theme song in your head. Such a great line, that thank you for being a friend. Love it. So my plan with this one, because it's quite a small and narrow one, was to put it onto a band. So this is just a piece of Ada with just a little bit of a light blue trim on it. And as you can see, I've done a piece of pie, and I think just the start of, I think that's Blanche. Blanche Devereaux, I believe, is in the yellow, canary yellow. So again, not much. And I pulled this out to show you because again, it was part of Stitch Mania, and this is one again because Cloud's Factory. One of the benefits of them, they are quite straightforward, quite simple little designs. So I'm thinking this is another one that I could aim to get done in June. So that's the third small project that I'm thinking I could get done in the next, kind of by the end of June. And moving on to my bothy or bothy. I never know how you say this. I think I always said bothy before I heard other people on videos. But I'm guessing, actually looking at the way it's spelled, it probably is bothy rather than bothy. Who knows? But this is the Kings and Queens pattern, which is fabulous. It's big, so let me zoom out to show you how big it is. And it has all the Kings and Queens of the UK on it. And I love it. I've had my eye on this for a couple of years at least, but it wasn't the cheapest pattern that I've ever bought. So I was a little bit reluctant to purchase it. And then one day I saw it reduced on a famous website and I couldn't resist anymore, so I bought it. And again, it was kind of, I've got loads of patterns ongoing, there's loads of things I want to stitch, so it's not really a priority. But once I bought it, of course, I couldn't resist starting it. So I think on Instagram, I've probably shown these bottom four here. Just move the needle there out of the way. So most people are going to recognise that we've got King Henry and his son, Edward. I think he was made king only at 9 years old, so it's just showing him sucking his thumb, so that's really quite sweet. Really interestingly, they've got Lady Grey included. So I've always known her as Lady Grey rather than Queen Jane, because I think she only ruled possibly for 9 days. It was a very short period of time, but she actually never had a coronation. So I think that's why I always think of her as Lady Jane Grey rather than Queen Jane. And of course, it was because she was put into onto the throne, I should say, in place of Queen Mary, who really didn't like that very much and quickly kicked her out and chopped her head off. It's the chopping block you've got here. So she lived quite a sad and a short life. I think she was probably 19 or early 20s when she went to the chopping block. And then I'm less able to tell you the names as we move up, but you can see I've just done the next 4, and then I've just started this one. There's a final 3 to go up in this corner. So my kind of initial goal with this one was that I would be finishing this kind of quarter here. We've got another young one here, only Richard II, only 10 years old. They used to like to put them on the throne really young in this country. But it's a lovely pattern, and you can really see, if I go back, you can see what a difference it makes to have the back stitch done on this one. It really, because that's all that's missing from these ones, is I haven't done the back stitch on them, or I also haven't put the metallic in. So if you look at King Henry, you can, I don't know if you can see, he's got some gold metallic in him. Horrible thread, not petite treasure braid, which would be my thread of choice, just the one that came in the kit. But it was really small little bits, kind of accents that it's used for, so I probably will persevere with it. But I thought, well, I'll get them all stitched first, and then I'll come back and do all the back stitching afterwards. So I love this one, absolutely love it. And it's so nice because each one feels like a small finish, which, when you can see how many projects I finish compared to how many whips I have on the go, then you might understand why I like having lots of little small finishes like this one. So that's my kings and queens. So the next one I've got here, and I'm going to have to zoom out a little bit for this one, I have to excuse it, it's very creased. This is another country cottage needleworks one, and this is the Santa's Village. And as you can see, I've got 4 of them done. And why I've included this is because this was part of Stitch Mania, and I didn't really cheat because it was 4 new starts, and so for each of the border stripe across here counted as a start. So this was 1 day, this was 2 day, this was 3 day up to here, and then these tiny few stitches over here, which I think is about 30 or 35, was one of the final days of Stitch Mania. And these were the stitches that I put in on the day that I handed in a rather large piece of coursework, which is why with Stitch Mania I had to pick very simple, easy things to do. And then also why there was so little progress on some days, because I was kind of working full time and then coming home and doing some studying. So it really was at the very end of the day that I kind of just picked up needle and thread and did a bit of a token effort, really. But I love this one. Again, it's something that's been sat around for a while. Every so often I get the urge to pick it up and work on it. Can't say I particularly have an urge to pick up and work at it in May, but you never know. Christmas might strike me in June, so it will be hanging around. And this project has a bit of a sad story, unfortunately, because I started it the year that it came out, and I only got the first 2 cottages done, and then I put it down, and I had rolled it up ready for the next month. So I kind of had rolled it into a big long tube, and it was just stored in the corner of my living room. And when I came to unroll it to use it the next month, I found a spider's nest in it. So I'm sorry if anyone's really creeped out by that. I was completely creeped out by that, but it was one of those little kind of yellowy, nesty, cobwebby things, and it was just horrible. Completely freaked me out. I kind of had to throw it out the front door, which is not how I really want to treat my cross stitch projects, and then get a bit of I got a cotton bud and some kitchen roll and managed to get it out. I was just really worried that all these spiders were going to pop out, but actually I didn't see anything, and I have to say I didn't hang around to see if anything else did come out of it. But I managed to get that out of it, but it did leave a little yellow stain, but it's right down the other. This is a really massive piece. Sorry, I hope you don't get motion sickness there. It's a really big piece of fabric. Comes all the way down here. And actually I was looking the other day, and I can't see where that stain is. So either it's faded over time or it's just kind of blended in to the linen. Either way, I don't care. There's been no more spiders sighted, and I keep this very carefully wrapped up and hidden away now, because, oh, that wasn't fun. I can tell you that much. So that's my Country Cottage Needleworks. So I told you I had a lot of projects. There's still some more to go. So my next one is another bothy, and this is bothy threads. It's called Beside the Seaside and Deck Chairs, and actually It is one of a series of kits that's been adapted from a painting by an artist called Janet Bow, and I love this one. I liked it as soon as I saw it because I just think the colours in it are just really bright and cheerful and happy, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the coast near where my parents live. So my parents live down in Somerset, and we're very lucky there because we've got access to the Devon coast and the Dorset coast, and we used to go out there quite a lot when I lived at home when I was younger, and this kind of brings back memories of that, so this is kind of why I chose it. It's been sitting in my stash for probably over a year, just waiting to get started, but it's one of those ones that I knew at some point I would pick it up and do. It just hadn't kind of made it into you know, the wood pile from the waiting to be started pile. And again, I picked this up as part of Stitch Mania, and this is one that I've continued to work on. So I worked on this one in the evening from the past week. So as you can see, I've made quite a bit of progress on this one. There's still quite a lot more to go. So the bit that I've done, I'll get them both in screen, is here is this kind of top corner down to this blue building. You can just see here, and you can see the shape where the boats are going to go in. So at the moment I'm on the kind of, I've just been filling in all this green, which is a little bit monotonous, and then I've got kind of all of this green, and then I've got one thing I'm not particularly looking forward to. It's got loads of blues and all this yellow, but isn't this pretty, this border along the front? And when I looked at it, I thought these flowers, they do look like little hearts, which I think is really lovely. Or even that one looks a bit like Mickey Mouse, or maybe I should say Minnie because it's pink. But I love this one. So this is another one of my Stitch Mania starts, but I've done quite well. This one's going to go aside, I think, from in the week, and I'll work on the other three that I've shown you. So to go with that, because it's one of a series, I also picked up beside the Seaside, the beach huts, and again it's by Janet Bow, so you can see it's very similar in design, same beautiful bright colours, all this blues, but all these really pretty little beach huts. So I really like this. There are 4 in the series. I have got 3 of them. And the 4th one, interestingly, is done on black Ada, which I really, really like. But it's one of the patterns that I'd never see reduced or in the sale anywhere. So I'm going to have to kind of suck it up and pay full price, I think. But because I've got so much to go on at the moment, I think I won't do that until I've seen some movement of these. Because as you can see, as part of Stitch Mania, I didn't really get a huge amount done. In fact, I think I did the 2 beach huts on Stitch. In fact, no, I did this beach hut for Stitch Mania, and then I finished Stitch Mania on the 15th of the month, and I think I just did some of this last Sunday as well. So as you can see, that's just these beach huts here. So I've got a long way to go on this one. So this one's just going to go back into the whip pile for now. There's no hurry to get it done. And then, believe it or not, after almost half an hour, I'm through to my last one. And again, believe it or not, it's another bothy. And this one's cut through Haberdashers, and I love this one. I've had this for, it will now be going into its 3rd year. And it's been one of those things that I pick it up, I work on it, I make really good progress, and then I put it down and don't do anything for ages. So about 8 weeks ago, I thought, you know, get on with it, get it finished. So as you can see, go out and out and out, it is almost finished, bar the back stitching. The bit that has slowed me down is this bit. And I was going great guns, and I thought, oh, I can get this finished a couple of evenings, I should be able to get this done because it's just filling in, all the writing's done, it is literally just putting it in. I don't know if you can see, I can see it through the camera, it's different colours. So this is kind of a light blue, and then this is a bit greeny, more like this green down here. I haven't got any more of this blue left. So the bit that I need to fill in here, I can't do because I don't have the right blue. So I'm a little bit sad about that one, and I'm not quite sure what to do. I think I might have to contact the company and ask if they can send a replacement for me, although I do have to admit it's probably my fault. In fact, there's no probably about it, it is my fault. I was stitching one evening while I was waiting for my dinner to cook. When my dinner cooked, it was pasta with a tomato sauce, and I thought, oh, you know, fold up my work, put it away, don't want to get pasta sauce anywhere near my stitching. Didn't take the same approach to the threads. So the threads were on the sofa next to me. With and bothy, they come on a card, all of their threads. And after I finished, I put the plate aside and I managed to ping somehow the fork off. It did this great big twirl in the air, and as it did a twirl in the air, it flicked tomato sauce all the way up and all over the corner of my threads where this blue was. So this blue unfortunately got the brunt of the tomato sauce. So oh God, that's one of the reasons why this went away for a while, because I was really gutted and I couldn't kind of face up to it. And when I did, I kind of pulled it out, and luckily there wasn't too many strands affected, but obviously there was just enough that the ones that I pulled out and threw away because they weren't usable were the few that I needed to be able to complete this space. So I don't know. Hopefully this will get finished, and I've kind of got this on my list as something that I will finish this year. So we shall see, because it's so close. It's so close. So that's all of the whips that I'm going to show you. Notice the pause, because that is not all of my whips. I do have other whips, including a Mirabilia I'm stitching on Elizabeth, which if you hold on I can show you a picture of Elizabeth, because I seem to have that right next to me for some reason. In fact, it's because I'm going to pull her out. I started this on January as part of the stitch along, but actually I've done very little on it because I was doing a course this semester. This one I knew that I'd put some stitches in it and then it would have to go away until I finished my course. So I've been absolutely dying to get back to her and to get her done. And now I handed in my coursework 2 weeks ago, so now I'm going to sit this evening, or well, yeah, it's just after 5 o'clock in the UK, so that's my plan for what's left of this kind of late afternoon and early evening. And then I just thought I'd show you these two. So the best thing about participating in Stitch Mania, so I don't know if you joined in or if you were following any of it, was that it really got me to look at the patterns I had, you know, to go through my stash and to kind of think, great, you know, all of these things that I've got sitting around, what could I get started? And one of the things that I realised was I had things. So for example, I had this Pole Stitches design, Home Sweet Home, just says under here, really pretty. I like anything with houses, as you may have guessed, with all the country cottage needlework things that I've got. But what I don't have is I didn't have the fabric. So part of what I did with Stitch Mania was I did spend going through all of my patterns and then thinking, right, what fabric do I need, and let's get it ordered. And that's what this is. So this is the recommended fabric, and this is Pole Stitches, and it's called the Deep, and it's a really pretty bluey fabric. It is variegated, you can see there's a bit of green in here. I didn't think to take it out, and I won't do it now because I don't want to rustle kind of around too much. So I went through all of my patterns, and I have now almost got all of the fabric I need to complete, and I'm just waiting on some final threads to come through because I couldn't afford to buy the fabric and threads in the same month. So I bought the fabric this month, and then on my next month budget I will pay for some of the threads so I can get going. So that's been a real big benefit to me, so thank you to Garrett and Angie for doing that. I absolutely loved it, and if they do anything like it again, I will definitely participate because I've certainly got the stash to be able to do it. And then the final pattern I thought I'd show you, hope you don't get too much of a glare. This is a waxing moon design, and it's a Halloween one, I guess, but actually I think I would probably have this out all year round because I think it's kind of funny. And it says, if you can't stir with the big girls, stay away from the cauldron. And I've pulled this one out of my stash because I'm thinking, if June the 12th is going to be the Orange is the New Black Stitch Along, which is a programme that I've watched and I absolutely love, and I can't wait for the third series to come out. This fits in with the Stitch Along, which the theme is orange or black. And as you can see, I've got orange and black. So I have just found some fabric for this. I'm just waiting for this one to come, but I'm sure it'll be here by the 12th of June, she says. Hopefully. That's what I'd like to stitch along. So anyway, that's a kind of I was going to say a whistle-stop tour of all of my projects, but that's just over 35 minutes. So, gosh, it's very easy to do a long video, isn't it? So hopefully you've enjoyed having a look at this. I'm sorry if it's been a bit bouncy. This is my first time ever doing a video. I'm doing it handheld with my device because I did try to rig it up with a tripod, but I couldn't actually get it to angle down. Here it's showing you a picture of my sofa, which I didn't think you would enjoy quite as much as looking at my patterns. But if this goes okay, if I'm able to upload it, I have no idea if I'll be able to edit it, so I probably won't. But I'll see what response I get, and then, you know, if I'm brave enough, I might even do a second one. So thank you very much for watching, and happy stitching.